What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long COVID issues. It is time now for the Sunday edition of the Pandemic Update for Sunday, August 18th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. This is where I do the daily pandemic update on all things COVID and any other virus that could be a health threat to you. There's a lot of different viruses out there. This summer, we've been talking about COVID quite a bit. Why? Because COVID has had a huge summer wave, not just in the United States, but in many different countries around the world. We also talk about other viruses as well, sometimes more than not, and pretty soon, just about a month or two from now, we'll be talking more and more about flu, RSV, and the other cold season viruses that will start coming around. Right now, COVID's the one that's ruling the roost, and unfortunately, when that time does come, COVID will still be here as well, and COVID will likely surge again come wintertime. But we got to get through this summer surge first. And today we're going to shift our focus on COVID in wastewater, and we'll take a look at some other viruses as well. It's something we do around here on Sundays. Today you'll get the news of the day and some other data and then wastewater. If you're new to my channel, subscribe down below. Like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that notification bell, share this with anyone you know, and leave your comments down below. As stated, we're starting off today with the news of the day. Not a lot of stories, just a couple, just a few, actually 3 I think. And we're starting off with this. Phil Lesh to miss Sunday Daydream Volume 4 due to, you guessed it, he tested positive for COVID. If you don't know who he is, think way back. The Grateful Dead. Yes, he's a legendary guitarist from the Grateful Dead. Then he's gone on to do a few other projects down the line. But most people will remember him from the Grateful Dead. And unfortunately, right now, he is being sidelined with COVID. Moving on to this. This is something that should not be a surprise whatsoever. A long COVID leads to missed work days and economic loss. We've done videos, dedicated videos in the past on long COVID, which has been sometimes focused on this very subject. And in this study, it says about 14% of participants in a new long COVID study from Yale said they didn't return to work in the months after their infection, suggesting that the condition results in major economic loss. Yes, this is not good. And some of the participants were from Illinois, Kentucky, Washington, Pennsylvania, Texas, California, 2020 through 2022. We've known about this. This is just confirming something that we have known, that the impact on long COVID is real. It's not helping with the workforce labor shortages in some of the sectors of the economy. And, people who don't return to work from long COVID, they go on to suffer financial hardship. And that really becomes a problem in the sense that in some cases, people have had to sell their houses. They've had to move in with relatives because things have gotten so hard. People have to take care of them. Yes, long COVID, it's real. And it can affect 150 to over 200 different symptoms. It can affect various different organs of the body. It's something that you need to take seriously. All right, moving on to this. In Colorado Springs, 10 people have been hospitalized and around 100 more treated for heat-related illness at Colorado Springs Air Show. Yes, this is not good. They got a lot of calls yesterday about people just not feeling well because of the heat. I mean, heat-related illnesses. We talk about them here on the channel, and in fact, let's actually skip over to that now. And you can see here, heat-related illnesses on this map are a problem. The Browns are much higher than average, and you do see a lot of counties in various different states dealing with these issues. And we will have an update on this upcoming week. Probably tomorrow will be when we get the update. In the United States, 36% of the country is in medium to high status for pollen levels. And take a look at this. A lot of red in the Midwest. If you're in Chicago, if you're in Minneapolis, if you're in Kansas City, you're dealing with some bad pollen levels today. Not as bad in the Mid-Atlantic region, little patch of bad in the Northeast. Southeast does have some orange. West Coast is not too bad. Then we take a look at air qualities, and look at this. The Northeast is dealing with problems still along that I-95 corridor. And look at Minnesota. Wow, Minneapolis, St. Paul, a lot of red for you. Wildfire smoke is the reasoning for this. Moving on now. I do have another place where I talk about the climate and the weather. I'm going to be tweeting there this afternoon. There was a significant flash flooding event that, believe it or not, is still ongoing right now in portions of southwest Connecticut, where anywhere from 4 to 8, even localized 9 inches of rainfall have fallen this morning. It has caused flash flooding. So go check that out there. I'll be posting there a little bit later. And taking a look at Philadelphia, 743 EMS incidents were reported for Saturday. That's the lowest number in quite some time, but today could be a little bit busier. Here's a live looking at what's going on just outside of Philadelphia. Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, 15 EMS calls right now, and we do see a handful of respiratory emergencies. 1, 2, 3 respiratory emergencies at this time. Chester County, Pennsylvania, we do see there is a stroke. Actually 2 strokes right now, and respiratory difficulties showing up there as well. Moving on now to Walgreens, 38.3% of COVID tests came back positive. So that's the positivity rate at Walgreens this week with 11,620 total tests. Hopefully that testing number continues to go up. And now taking a look at what's going on in Canada, let's refresh this. The viral activity level for COVID is moderate. The viral activity level for flu A, flu B, and RSV is low at this time. The latest variant of COVID is the KP.3.1.1 subvariant, which is at 36.8% of all cases. The KP.3 variant, which is really not all that old, is at 16.8%, but KP.3.1.1 was able to take over that and spread faster. All right, taking a look at wastewater now, which is one of the things that we do every week. Some people actually really look forward to this. You'll see what the levels are in. We're not going to do every wastewater site, but we're going to do every region of the United States, at least of the lower 48. And we can see here on this map, there's reds, there's blues, there's oranges, there's whites, there's even gray. What happens is you have wastewater treatment facilities in your area or a wastewater site, and at that site, they can actually stick a test into the water, take samples from the wastewater, send it to a laboratory, get a result of how much COVID is in your wastewater. They can also test it for other things as well. Now on this dashboard, it is solely focused on COVID. When we go to WastewaterSCAN in just a little bit, we'll be able to take a look at other viruses as well. And we can see here, there are white sites. That's brand new sites. There are gray sites. We don't like gray sites. Gray sites are not reporting. These dark blue sites, which we're okay with them, there's not too many of them. That's the lowest level of COVID on this map. There's only 23, which shows you how far COVID has gone up this summer. Then when we take a look at light blue sites, starting to get a little bit higher, but that's still relatively low. 118 sites are in the 20 to 39% category. Then we get up to this really light shade of blue, 40 to 59% COVID detected. And that's 310 sites, 60 to 79% COVID detected or increased detected. Yeah, 469 sites and 80 to 100% COVID detected. That's all the way up at 340. That has really gone up, and that is really high, and it's not good. So let's just randomly go through some sites in each region before we go on to the next level. But real quickly, I forgot to show you something. My apologies. The viral activity level nationwide for COVID is very high right now, and you can see here on this chart, it has continued to go up. Hopefully it will peak within the next 1 to 2 weeks. Taking a look here in the Northeast, we do see there's quite a bit of orange and red now at this point, and we'll take a look at just a few sites here. We can see up in Maine, there are still orange and red, but looking at wastewater sites, a good vast majority of them are dropping, but down near Portland, Maine, at this time, you can see here on this chart, it is still rising at this time. Let's come down to Connecticut. New London, Connecticut Looks like you're starting to rise a little bit. Taking a look at New York City. We have to look at New York City here because we can't see New York City on WastewaterSCAN. It's kind of a mixed picture. There's a bunch of sites that are dropping. There are some that are still rising. Queens, New York, 444,000 population. That's still rising. Kings, New York is still rising. Here's another New York that this one is dropping. Here's one that's in the red. 1.1, almost 1.2 million population. That is dropping at this time. Staten Island, Richmond, that is rising ever so slightly. Here's another one that is dropping at this time, and another Queens, which is rising at this time. And we're going to have to keep an eye on this. There are indicators that New York City is not dropping as fast, or at least New York State as a whole is not dropping as fast. Coming down to Delaware, what's going on there? Yikes. Sussex County, Delaware continues to rise at this time. And we're just going to come down here to North Carolina. And we can see as we come over to the Greensboro area, continuing to see a rise on this chart. Coming over to Atlanta, we have to take a look at that one over on WastewaterSCAN. Same deal with Florida. We can see there's a lot of orange and red. Louisiana, tons of orange and red still. As we come up to the Great Lakes, seeing a lot of orange, just not very much red, a lot of orange, and even some light blues, which indicates to me that the wave has not gone to its highest level yet, or maybe it'll peak at these levels. You can see here, here's one in Michigan that's starting to drop. Let's go over near Detroit, and we can see Detroit starting to slow off there. Chicago, we'll take a look at you separately, because we'll actually go over to your dashboard, and we can see on the West Coast, there's a lot of orange and red at this time. All right. Each state has X number of wastewater sites that are actually reporting right now. Example, Texas has 18 wastewater sites reporting right now. Well, we can actually average that out to what the average level is out of those 18 sites, and in Texas, it's very high. You can see the majority of the Mid-South and the West Coast is very high. Moderate, though, in Oklahoma at this time, and in Illinois, it's at moderate at this time. Michigan is low at this time. Pennsylvania is high. Moderate in West Virginia. Very high in Maine at this time. Florida continues to be very high. And if you saw my notes from yesterday, which I actually still do have on screen, Florida had a really high amount of deaths reported on this past week. And that's probably going to continue for a few more weeks. Alaska is very high, and it is also high in Hawaii at this time as well. All right, let's go over to WastewaterSCAN. We're going to do all the different regions first. Then there's a few individual sites that we need to look at. A couple which we've been following recently, but we need to revisit because they're not so good. All right, nationally for COVID, according to this, it's showing a wonky movement downward. It's possible we could be starting to drop for COVID. RSV is low at this time. I mean, it's rising, but the level is almost near zero. Influenza A, Influenza B is low at this time. HMPV is low. Norovirus. I said we can check other viruses. Norovirus is medium and dropping nationally at this time. Let's go over to the Midwest region, and we do note that in the Midwest, there is the overall trend upward, but maybe now it's showing signs of peaking and getting ready to drop. RSV is low, Influenza A is low, Influenza B is low, HMPV is low. Norovirus, little indication that although it's low, it is trying to go up once again. When we go over to the Northeast, we do note, look at this. Yeah, there's a wonky movement upward, but no, overall, the Northeast, I think, is going up slightly once again. RSV is low, Influenza A is low, Influenza B is low, HMPV is very low at this time, and Norovirus is rising ever so slightly. In the South at this time, levels are dropping, and that does look to continue to be the case for COVID. They are still coming in high, though. RSV is starting to see a little bit of a drop. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Sometimes the South starts up first for RSV and Influenza A and B, which both influenzas are low at this time. Norovirus is coming in at medium at this time. And out on the West Coast, we do note that levels are still very high, wonky movement upward, but we're not concerned about that. Overall, the West is peaking and should start to drop soon. RSV is low, Influenza A is low, Influenza B is low, HMPV is low, Norovirus is medium at this time. Now let's take a look at some individual sites. We'll start off with Hawaii, and I think we're going to look at the two sites here that are actually reporting, and we'll keep our focus here on COVID. COVID at Honolulu wastewater site, this is the more western site, is dropping at this time, still high. RSV, Influenza A, Influenza B, not much of an issue, but we should take a look at this. Norovirus is rapidly rising there and is really high at this time. That is not good to see. Now let's go over to the Sand Island wastewater facility, and we do note COVID. It's not really dropping that much anymore. It's actually leveled off. RSV, influenza A, influenza B, not much of an issue. Norovirus is high at this time, might even be slightly starting to rise once again. Let's go over back to the lower 48 and see what's going on in the West Coast. We'll go from west to east today, and we will make a stop in between. We're just going to do a few wastewater sites on the West Coast. How about San Jose, California? And we can see here, levels are still listed as high, and it's rising ever so slightly. And coming down, looking at the other viruses, not much of an issue. Hepatitis A, a lot of detections of that. And let's make our way over a little bit further to the east now. Let's take a look at Las Vegas and see what's going on there. Las Vegas at this time is coming in at high, RSV is low, and not much of an issue with the other viruses. We are seeing norovirus is coming in medium status at this time. Making our way further to the east, we'll do a few more wastewater sites. Let's go to Arkansas and see what's going on there. In Harrison, Arkansas, we do see that, whoa my, this is not good. COVID levels are high and rising at this time. No issues with any of the other viruses. At this time, norovirus is low in this area. Remember, back in spring, I believe it was, there were some problems with norovirus in that area. Coming down now to Atlanta, as promised, let's see what's going on there. We are still seeing somewhat of a rise at this particular wastewater site in Atlanta. And when we come down to the other viruses, hepatitis A does have some detections at this time. Coming down to Florida, let's go over to the Tampa Bay area, or how about St. Petersburg, and see what's going on there. And we do note that COVID is still high, but it is dropping at this time, which is good to see. Norovirus is low, and not much of an issue with the other viruses at this time. Making our way further to the north, we'll make one stop in Hagerstown, Maryland. How about we do that and see what's going on there? COVID's listed as high, but it is starting to drop at this time. And why not? Let's make a stop in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. What is going on there? COVID is listed as high, but dropping at this time. Now we have to go to somewhere where we have looked at quite frequently lately, and that's Newark, New Jersey. Why are we going to look at it again? Well, take a look at this. The levels for what's going on with COVID in Newark, New Jersey continue to rise at this time. Yes, they're high, and they continue to go up. That is relatively concerning. What's going on in Southwest Connecticut and Stamford? We can show you this as well. Continuing to see a rise, once again, in Stamford, Connecticut. And let's make our way on up to Montpelier, Vermont. What is going on there at this time? And we can see they were starting to rise. Wonky movement upward now. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. Levels are still listed as high. Now making our way over to the Midwest. Let's see what's going on here. How about we come down into Bloomington, Indiana. Let's see what's going on there. And Bloomington, Indiana is dropping slightly at this time. Coming further west, let's go up here to Kansas City and see what's going on there. And in Kansas City at this time, we can see that levels are relatively flat but still listed as high. Let's go back to the CDC site for just a second. Then we will end the day on Chicago. We want to go down to Missouri. Why? Because, well, we didn't get the report on Missouri yesterday for emergency department visits. It's never listed for some reason. And we do note here, wastewater in the St. Louis area. It's still high, and it is still coming up, rising at this time. Here's one that's dropping. Here's another one that's red. Yeah, St. Louis, you're still rising at this time. Let's take a look at Chicago. And we do note in Chicago, this is the O'Brien treatment plant. That is dropping at this time. Taking a look now at what is going on with this other Chicago site. Which one is this? Stickney North. That is continuing to rise. And the southern one, this time, it's still up there, but it is dropping ever so slightly. Alrighty, folks, that does it for the Sunday edition of the Pandemic Update. We'll have another Pandemic Update again tomorrow. There are a few places we did not get to today. We didn't get to the Pacific Northwest, and there's a few other things we didn't get to. I'll probably include some wastewater sites during the week from the CDC page. In fact, you know what? Real quickly, let's go back, because I'm just going to be friendly today. Let's go back to the CDC page real quickly. Let's go up to the Pacific Northwest real quickly. Is there much I can say about this? You're still coming up with a lot of red and orange, and you're one of the early places to rise in this wave. Look at this, Pierce King County is very high this time. I think someone commented lately on this video that they tested positive up there. Very sorry to hear about that. Take a look at Clark County, not this video, but on the channel. One of our videos, Clark County, Washington is still rising. You get the idea. There's still a lot of red and orange up there. We'll give you some more coverage during the week. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Want to see more content like this? Subscribe down below. Hit that notification bell. Share these videos with anyone you know. Tomorrow we'll have the new numbers in from BNO. If I had to take a guess what the deaths are going to be for this week, I would have to guess probably over 700 new deaths would be my guess for this week. If not, maybe even higher. I hope I'm wrong, but based on the numbers that I've been reading, you saw those numbers yesterday. You know, Florida, over 200 deaths alone this week. That's just one state. California, 99 new deaths added this week. So if they get the same numbers, we're talking there could be a lot of deaths reported this week. I'll see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, enjoy your Sunday evening, but do it safely. Thanks for watching. See you again tomorrow. Have a great evening.